Afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
Thank you for joining us. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. We're going to let people into our United Way Next living room where we're having our social holiday gathering today. I see Dick App wearing his red sweater, and Carole Berger's got on her little holiday hat. Kyle, it's great to see you, and Jenny. Expecting a few more people, so we're just going to take a minute here as people come into our United Way Next living room, where we're going to have some fun and games and holiday cheer and celebrating with all of you, our friends. Oh, I'm glad to see Kelly's here and Janet Jackson's here. That's great. All right. Well, we're going to stop our music playing so we can see all of you. And just start out by saying happy holidays from your friends and family at United Way Next. I'm Carole Peters. I serve as the president and CEO. And what's different today is I don't have up my United Way Next background. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to see my little festive hat. And we decided to add some fun filters, and there may be a few of you who don't know how to do that, but if you want to add a filter, you can click on the little arrow up button where you do your stop video. And usually if you choose a video filter, there may be options there that are festive. I'm going to just do a really quick sample of something that I found that I thought you all might enjoy and get some laughs, because you know me, I love humor. So here is my little reindeer outfit that I'm wearing. See my face? And if you're not wearing a festive hat and you want to add one, you can always add a little hat. See my little hat that came up as a festive virtual? But I'm going to go back to my lights now because I think they look the most beautiful of all. So I'm glad to see Savannah's got on like some elf ears and a fun hat. That's great. And I see Bottie's wearing her red as well. And several of you are decked out for this festive party. We have a lot of fun in store for you, and we know we set aside 90 minutes. We understand we may not take the full 90 minutes, but we wanted this to be really fun and social today. And I see you're all on mute, but my hope is that you're going to come off mute as we engage today and really ask that you be a participant in this party, because it's no fun to have a party without your friends, right? So just to give you a taste of what is coming, we have a full agenda that's focused on each one of you. We're going to talk a little bit about our favorite holiday memories. Each of you will have a chance to introduce yourself. Carole Berger, who is joining me today with the Coco and Carols, will talk a bit about her favorite holiday memory. We're going to ask you to take a poll later with your favorite holiday song, and then we'll wrap up this session with a breakout room for each of you to kind of set aside a few moments to get to know each other better. And then we'll end with your favorite holiday tune. And if you want, you can join me as I sing and lead the song. So you'll get a chance at that later. So I see some of you smiling because I'm sure you're thinking, no, I don't really want to have to sing. But Deborah Bale said she thought it would be so fun if I sang a Christmas song at the end. So I said, I'll lead the verse and you all can join me on the chorus. So I hope you will join us on that. So without further ado, I'm going to ask that you come off mute. We're going to go around, and I'm going to start this with Carole Berger, who is co-hosting this today with Carole Berger and Carole Peters as Coco with Carols. And Carole, just briefly take 30 seconds to introduce yourself, and then we'll go all the way around the room.
Hello. Hi, everybody. Happy holidays. My favorite holiday memory. First of all, I'm a country girl. I grew up in the country. So we rode a lot of bicycles, and we rode them on dirt roads and up and down hills and you name it. So my favorite memory is really getting that new bike for Christmas, joining my cousins and my brother and sisters. And we would just ride our bikes and go visit on our bicycles. Where you guys probably did it in a car, I did it on a bike. So that's my favorite. Oh, and I forgot I have one other one that I like to share. real quick is that my dad would always start dinner when we get ready to have holiday dinner with a prayer. And he would always say to, as part of his prayer was, may God make sure that we're here around this table again next year. So that is sort of how we in the country did Christmas. And I'm from Mississippi, for those who don't know. You probably can.
All right, just going around my screen. Next I see Jenny Palazzo. Would you like to introduce yourself briefly?
Hi, Jenny Palazzo, and I'm still in the staff, at least this week. And a favorite Christmas memory for me as a mother, this is just classic, is I'm a pretty cheap person. And one year for Christmas, I got my daughters American Girl dolls and bicycles. And I later, like a week or so later, I heard them talking about Santa Claus, and one of them was saying, like, there has to be Santa Claus. There's no way Mom would get us American Girl dolls and bicycles. And so that's one of my favorite memories. Is total wool over their eyes about the whole Santa thing. So yeah. So.
That's awesome. I love that. Thanks, Jenny. Kyle Ron.
Hey everybody. Oh gosh, I'm Kyle and I'm in Dallas. My favorite, it's much like yours, Jenny. Favorite holiday memory was, I think I was in second grade and my parents didn't have a lot and I just wanted this baby doll so bad, and that's all I wanted. Didn't want clothes, didn't want a high chair. And I came down Christmas morning and there it was. And there was a bike, Carole, and a doll and a high chair and clothes. I just thought, man, I don't know what happened to Santa this year, but he blew it up. Just thinking of that this morning, isn't that funny? So yeah, that's my favorite holiday memory. Is there anything else I'm forgetting?
Hey, where are you calling in from today?
Dallas, Texas, where I now live, not Hawaii, not Colorado, but a suburb of Dallas, between Dallas and Fort Worth, North Lake, Texas.
Well, thanks for joining. I know you have to leave early, so we're grateful that you spent a few minutes with us.
Thanks, Carole.
Welcome. Kelly Krebs.
Hey, Carole. Hey, everybody. It's so good to see so many of your faces. I'm Kelly. I think I know almost everybody, but not quite. I'm calling in from the Washington, D.C. area, and what a fun Christmas reflection. I was actually like thinking about some of my favorite Christmas memories, and I grew up in Michigan, right on the Canadian border. And so anybody else grow up on the Canadian border? Ooh. So Bonnie, you may remember that we got the Canadian version of PBS. And so we had a whole different crop of like TV shows when I was a kid. And it wasn't until I got older that I realized how unusual they were. And one of my favorite TV shows as a kid, which now is difficult to translate to people, and you'll understand why in a minute, was a show called Mr. Dress Up. And it was about an old man who would dress up in costumes and had stored his costumes in something called a tickle trunk, and would sort of dress up to amuse small children. And it sounds terrible now, but it was the best TV show ever. And I loved Mr. Dress Up so much. And one year Santa surprised us with our very own tickle trunk, which, like, mad props to my mom when I think about it now, because all she had to buy was like a plastic trunk. She just like went to Goodwill and bought us a ton of just like dress up clothes and crazy costume stuff and whatnot. And so was probably one of her more economical gifts of all time, and just always stands out as my favorite warmest sort of Christmas gift memory.
Gosh, I love that story. That's hilarious. Thank you for sharing that, Kelly. Bonnie, Duncan.
So it's kind of a pre-Christmas memory, but one of the things that we did in my family for years and years was have a craft day. And we would make Christmas ornaments every year for the tree. I am this weekend coming up going with the next generation of my niece's children who want to make crafts now. And it's just kind of fun from year to year to look at all my family's trees and see the mad collection of memories of those days.
Bonnie, did you always have a pattern, or did you just let everybody? This is something I just would think would be great for my family. Or did you just let them put a bunch of stuff out and let them go?
I've done both. It depends if I'm going somewhere, then I have to sort of be better prepared. But if they come to my house, then they can come into my craft room and they can just design away. And, you know, everything from terracotta pots to boxes, like just decorate a box, to wood shapes, you name it. They've done it all and they've just really loved it over the years.
That's so cool. Thank you for that.
You said you have to go in the next 5 minutes. Would you like to go next? You're on mute, so you'll have to just unmute yourself.
Oh, sorry. I turned the video on, but not the Merry Christmas to everybody. And I was just sitting here thinking, in 1990, I had a dear friend. She was a single mom with 2 little kids. And here for her Christmas gift to me, she wrapped up these 2 Krug crystal champagne goblets. And I bawled for weeks after that, that she would take that out of her, you know what I mean? She would give me something that precious. Love you guys. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Your
I
camera,
gotta go get my,
your camera's focused on the wall. Can you move it down really quick so we can see your face?
no,
Oh,
I'm trying to shoot those Krug crystal mugs. Wait, can you see those? No.
oh, I see what you're trying to do. Yes. Oh, fun.
Aren't those beautiful?
Oh,
Okay. Now I got to get my mom to a doctor's appointment and take some United Way cards to 2 companies. Bye, guys. Love you.
Bye-bye.
she's so sweet. That's
I'll
great.
still listen.
Thank you. All right, so we'll go back in the same order that we were, just because it helps me stay on track. Deborah Bale, you're next.
Hi, everyone. I'm Deborah Bale, and I am in beautiful Salt Lake City today. And you can see the sun is shining, so that's a good thing. One of my favorite Christmas memories is when I was a kid. Every year, the city where I grew up decorated the entire block around the city and county building with all these different scenes that were in houses. And so every year my family and I would go and walk through these, and there were carolers, there was Santa, and it lasted long enough that I even took my kids to it when they were little. So that is a really good favorite memory of mine.
Oh, that's so cool that you got to do it with your children.
Yeah.
What a great memory.
Deborah, are you all still doing it?
No, they don't do it anymore.
They don't do it no more?
And I don't live there anymore. So
Okay. But it's what a super idea though.
yeah.
Janet Jackson.
It is absolutely so great to see dear friends that I haven't seen in a number of years. I think of you frequently. So I am in Columbus, Ohio. We're in downtown Columbus today. We have, I hope I have this right, because I have to admit I'm not a soccer fan, but we are the MLS, is that right? National champion.
All right.
And so
Yes,
they
you
just
are.
have a big parade. And we also have, I understand it's the most beautiful soccer stadium in the country. I've never been to it, even though the mayor gave me his tickets. And I'm like, thank you, but no thank you.
And see, I'm a soccer mom and grandmom, Janet, so I love it.
So I actually serve on the board of a company that's owned by one of the families that saved the crew. Because if you're a national soccer fan, we almost lost the crew, I think, to Austin, Texas a few years ago. And the owners of the Browns and this family here in Columbus came together and bought them. You know, my Christmas memories is just kind of a collection of memories. So I am from southern red dirt, poverty-stricken Virginia. And so my memories have, I mean, rarely were there gifts or anything like that. But on Christmas Eve, we always, I was also raised Presbyterian in Southern Virginia, which was a little different than a Black person being Presbyterian in Southern Virginia. But in our little kind of one room church with a little side room for the choir, we met every, Christmas Eve. There was a Christmas program where all children had parts. My mother was usually the director of that. And literally, we were given just a bag of candies and fruit. And there would be some church from somewhere that would send boxes and we might, get clothing. But it really wasn't about the getting. It was just being in that little church. And there were like 2 or 3 families that made up membership. So I was with my siblings and my mom and dad, my grandparents, cousins, and these other families. And it just was magical. Just being there. You didn't really go to bed at night thinking that when you got up in the morning, what was going to be underneath the tree. I did have one aunt who lived in Philadelphia, and I don't know how she did it, but she always managed to come home and have all of us have at least one gift. And when I say all of us, there were 21 first cousins that lived in the area. So, and I miss that family connectivity. We haven't had a family reunion since 2018, since before COVID. And then I guess that's what I miss the most now in terms of not seeing that family on a regular basis.
That's beautiful, Janet. Is the church still there?
Well, even before I left, in Charlotte County, there were 4 very small churches, all African-American congregations in the county. And the pastor went from church to church. So you actually only had a service once a month. And before I left, they actually came together and they built a new church, which isn't very new anymore since I haven't lived there since 1971. But the church is still there, and there's still a few family members and those families that I can recall.
Very nice.
Sharing that, Janet. Great. Susan Dunn.
Hi to everyone. So good to see you. I grew up, I was an only child, and so maybe I got a little spoiled, and my parents were older. But I grew up in a suburb of New York City. So the big thing always was to go down into New York City to see all the holiday lights. And I even think in my class when we were in elementary school, everyone talked about, well, what day are you going to see Radio City Music Hall? And literally your parents took you out of school because it was too busy on the weekends. So you'd get up at 7 in the morning to go to that first show, maybe 8 in the morning at Rockefeller Center. So you do that. And then there were lots of very nice department stores. So there was Best & Company and B. Altman and Bonwit, Teller and DePinna's, and they would all, and Lord and Taylor and Saks Fifth Avenue, and they would all have Santas. And somehow this did not destroy my belief in Santa, but I would go to as many as I could on this day down in the city. And then you'd always decide which Santa you got the best gift from, because you'd get really good gifts from these Santas, like a book, like a real book, or Best & Company. I think I still have some. I'm hoping there were something, not a real gold coin from Best & Company that you would get when you would go. And then of course you'd see the tree at Rockefeller Center. So that sort of stands out to me, to be able, the magic of New York City and all the Santa Clauses, and then the windows, all those stores did windows, and you'd wait online just to walk by the window. So those are the things I remember.
A great memory. Paula Gilberto.
Everyone, I'm calling in from my home, Farmington, Connecticut, and it's good to see all of you. And Jenny, you keep doing that good work at UWW. You are hugely important. You keep doing it.
Thank you, Paula. We're winding down though. But that's another conversation for another day. Yeah. So yeah.
So I have so many memories of Christmas, because for us growing up in an Italian household, actually Christmas Eve was the more important of the 2 days, but it actually was a 48-hour marathon holiday. And so you've heard of, you know, the seven fishes. My grandmother was born in Italy, and we lived on the second floor of her two-family home. So it was very much grounded in all of those traditions and traditional foods, both in terms of the seven fishes. And by the way, I didn't eat any of them. Something about seeing eel that wasn't really very appealing. But there were very specific desserts that were associated with Christmas Eve. And a very different set of desserts and a different menu associated with Christmas Day. So family would come together on Christmas Eve. We would struggle to stay up. We would go to midnight mass. We would sleep for a few hours, and then my father would take my sister and I, and we would do what we called making the rounds. And that was visiting family friends to pay our respects. And then a couple hours after that, everybody who came over on Christmas Eve came over on Christmas Day. And so a whole other menu and set of desserts. And by the time Christmas was over, we just pretty much collapsed, but it was just wonderful to be with everyone.
Great, Paula. Thanks for sharing that. Dick Apt.
Well, happy holidays to everyone. I'm here at home in Cincinnati with fingers crossed that we'll get a dusting of snow sometime next week. One of my favorite memories was when we used to take the kids to the large family gathering in small town Iowa, Carole, Iowa. My in-laws' home was up on a hill, and Christmas morning was a joy. Almost every Christmas was a white Christmas in Carole, Iowa in the 60s and the 70s when the kids were small. And the great joy and the great memory was as soon as the boxes under the tree were emptied, the kids wanted to go outside with the cardboard cartons and slide down the hill in the snow, paying no attention to all of those gifts. We had spent hours choosing for them. Instead, they chose the cardboard cartons sliding down the hill.
I love that. That's making me giggle sitting there thinking about how we spend all this money on all these things and they choose the simple box. Right? That's great. Savannah Lyon, you're next.
Hello, good morning. Well, it's I guess afternoon. I am from Kearney, Nebraska, so middle of Nebraska, and I am a new director, so everything is new to me. But I would say one of my favorite Christmas memories growing up was just being able to open up the stockings that we received. So we would, I mean, I think all kids do this, but we would wake up really, really early in the morning. My parents obviously didn't want to be awake yet. So our family rule was before mom and dad get up, you can open up your stockings. And so that was always the most fun for me to be able to do that. And all of us were like, oh, what's in our stockings? You know, and they were like the most, you know, inconsequential gifts, right? They're just, you know, little gadgets and candy and things like that. But it was always so fun. And so that's been a tradition that I've allowed my kids to do it as well, so they won't wake me up. And then after they wake up, then we had to listen to the Bible story before we could open presents. So my dad would sit there and read out of Luke 2, the story of Jesus' birth, and then we would be able to open up gifts. And so that was just always a part of our tradition. And every year, that's what we did.
Awesome. I love that I was going to ask you if you carried on the tradition. So that's really great that you did that for your kids.
Yep, I make them do the same thing. I hated it. I hated, especially like, oh, we have to sit here and listen to the Christmas story. But now I'm like, oh no, this is important. You need to understand it's not about the presents. It's about Jesus. So let's do that. We're going to focus on that.
That's really nice. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I see Christina Lawrence. Would you like to share who you are and your favorite holiday memory?
Oh my. Well, my name is Christina Lawrence. What?
I love your antlers, by the way.
Well, thank you. They're a new addition. I live in Jacksonville, Florida right now. We just found out within the last month or so that next summer we're moving to San Antonio, Texas for my husband. He's taking command of the Navy Medicine Training Support Command. So that's kind of an exciting a development in the last month or so. Gosh, my favorite Christmas memory. It's not really one memory in particular. It's a conglomeration. My grandmother was German, and every year she lived in New York until about the time we were 6 or 7, and we lived in San Diego. And up to that point, every year she'd come visit for Christmas, and always had what's a traditional German Christmas bread called Stellen, and she made Christmas cookies that the recipe basically had been, transported from Germany over. And every year she made that, and she'd show up at the house with a big shopping bag full of food, and that was like the best. I knew it was going to be Christmas at that point, and it was super exciting. And then, she died in the early 90s, and there was nobody to take over that tradition. So my aunt took over the cookie tradition, and I took over the bread tradition. And it took me a couple of years to get that recipe right. And thankfully, my aunt had a couple of insider secrets that were not on the recipe. So ever since then, I guess it's been 30 years then since that I've taken over that tradition, and I actually just put it all in the mail this morning to my siblings that are scattered all over the world.
I love the traditions. That's great. We heard from Nancy Pinto, and there's one person left, and that is Charles Anderson. Charles, do you want to unmute and share your favorite holiday memory, if you're able? You may not.
We haven't heard from Caitlin either.
Oh yeah, that's right. Sorry, Caitlin and I haven't gone yet, so we'll swing up to us. All right. Well, Charles is not. If you're able to unmute and share your favorite holiday memory, we'll include you in a moment. But I'll go next up to Caitlin. Thanks, Deborah, for the reminder.
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I'm with Yami next. My favorite Christmas memory, I guess, would be kind of every year. It's a tradition. My family and I go and get a Christmas tree. So we go to the Christmas tree farm and we go and pick out the biggest one we could possibly fit into our house and chop that down. And it's always a discussion because my dad and I want to get the biggest one we could fit in our house, and my mom and my sister want to pick the first one they see because it's so cold, and then just get some hot chocolate, get back in the car, and go home. So that's always kind of the fun family rift. But yeah, it's a lot of fun, and there's always a lot of cute families and lots of dogs around. So yeah, it's a fun time.
I was trying, and I see Charles just turned on his camera, so maybe he'll be done in a minute. He can share his memory. So similar to Janet Jackson, I think of Christmas or the holidays is really going to church on Christmas Eve. And as a child, we always had a Christmas Eve program, and we all participated. And because I sing, obviously I had a singing part usually in every program. And later in my adult life, I actually helped run our Sunday school Christmas program and helped engage children to get involved in that type of experience, and have wonderful memories of that as well as being a child. But what I will say that I remember the most about it was when we were walking out of the church that evening, they handed us a brown paper bag full of nuts and fruit and candies. And my father always said before we were leaving the church, don't forget to get the bag with the nuts. He was a big guy. Christmas candy, he'd sit there and crack the nuts on Christmas Day. And I think he ate all the candy and the nuts and the fruit. But it was just something that, I always remembered that brown paper bag and thinking that this might be for some people the only gift that they receive. So, and then we would come home and have Christmas Eve. That was for my family the time when we opened all our gifts, which I loved, because we woke up Christmas morning and we could just then play with all the toys and things that we received. My parents had the means to provide a lot, but they oftentimes gave very small numbers of gifts. My favorite gift of all time was a doll named Rub-a-Dub Dolly that I can still sing the commercial because that was the only gift I ever wanted in my whole life, and I got it. So anyway, it was a great time for me. as a child. So Charles, if you're able to unmute and share your favorite holiday memory, we'd love for you to do that. Otherwise, we'll go ahead and start. All right, so one of the things we wanted to do today was ask you to share your favorite Christmas cookie. And I would love it to just be quick so we can just kind of go around. And then if there's somebody who has a specialty, maybe some of us have similar cookies that we love, we can talk about that recipe or something, or even about cookie exchanges. But since we're not together in each other's home today, or you're not officially in our living room, I would at this point be handing you a platter of cookies and encouraging you to take one. So if there were one on the tray that you could take, what would it be? And I'll just say at this point, unmute and we'll go around as quickly as we want.
Sugar cookie.
Not a part of our tradition, Christmas cookies.
Okay.
Lots of time in Germany enjoying Lebkuchen.
Grandkids and I make gingerbread men every year.
Mine's not cookies, but it's applesauce cake is our traditional dessert.
What's this?
Butter cookies.
I love peanut butter blossoms, the ones with the little chocolate kisses in the middle of them.
And my grandmother used to make what she called tea cakes. And they're just small, tiny cookies made mostly out of sugar and flour and cinnamon, but they were really, really good.
There was always a ton of homemade cookies, but the Italian option was picture a dime-sized ball of cookie dough that gets deep fried.
Oh, wow.
And then just drenched in honey.
Wow.
And then you put them all together and you sprinkle some chopped nuts. Yeah, I would call them sinkers because that's how I would feel if I had it.
Anyone else? So my mom made a variety of cookies in our home, and I've never tasted a cookie I didn't like. But if I were thinking about a holiday cookie specifically, it would be ones that she would allow us to help her cut the cookies out, any kind. Could be a molasses cookie or sugar cookie. And then we got to decorate it with some kind of, frosting and the little sparkle things or whatever. So that would be probably one of my favorites because we were coffee drinkers and we love to be able to dunk our cookies, our hard cookies in the coffee. All right, great. So we do want to take a little bit of time today and do a breakout room. And we're going to break in groups of 3. And this time that we're going to spend together is really going to be meant to be more intimate and open if you're willing. And we encourage you not to go to the room and meet some new friends, because after all, what do you do at a holiday party, right? You gather and you meet people and you get introduced to each other. So you may come into the room and find that you know each other very well, and that might be a very different conversation than when you find out that 2 of the people know each other well. So please be guests and hosts where you might actually introduce one another and tell each other things about one another like you would just at a holiday party. And if there's any rooms where there's only 2, because we've just lost Jenny, and I know Nancy Pinto's maybe not able to join if she's driving, then by all means, let us know you're in the room alone. We don't want you to be alone, and we'll add you to another room. Caitlin can do all that. So Caitlin, are we in a position where we might be able to do the breakouts? All right, you can go ahead and accept join and enjoy your celebration with friends. Thanks for joining.
Hi, everyone.
Good to see you.
Nice to see everyone.
Yeah.
Hi, Trisha.
Hello.
How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good.
So Caitlin, is that everyone?
Oh, Trisha, it's been too long.
It has.
You're looking great.
Thanks. Everyone here looks great.
Well, Trisha,
we're all good parts.
We would love for you, for anybody who may not know you, but I think almost everyone does. If you want to, since at the beginning we introduced ourselves and shared a favorite holiday memory, if you want to do that, we would love for you to share.
Tricia Smith, used to be with the Retirees Association, now with UWW, and favorite holiday memories, just so many. Grow with the kids. One of our traditions is every Christmas Eve, we would give them an ornament that reflected where they were in their lives or what their passions were. So now that's what we decorate our tree with, and it's great to see their phases over the years, and we really enjoy it.
That's great. Thank you for sharing, and thanks for joining today. It's good to see you.
Hey, Kelly.
So I'm curious, and today is really just social and fun, so you don't be hesitant or shy to unmute if you want to say hi to someone. I was curious if anybody from their session, their little breakout, want to share anything, any aha moments, or just any reflection on that time together. Deborah, Bill.
So Bonnie and I were together. We were the only two in our group, but we found we have quite a few things in common. And when we left our United Way positions, we both had scholarship programs named in our honor. So that's something that I wanted to share because I think that's so cool.
That is so cool. Thank you for sharing that. I'm so glad. And you two didn't know each other very well?
No, not at all.
Okay. That's awesome. Anyone else?
I got the lucky straw. I got both of the Carols. I was like, what did I do? Did I win the prize? But we just had so much fun reminiscing. Miss Carole, just on the NPC days and how much fun we had together. And Janet, you of course came up a couple of times as well, and just sort of all of the shenanigans we got up to, and how much fun we had together. It was just really warm memories, and I really appreciated that.
That's great. Thanks, Janet, for joining. I see you have to leave. Have a happy holiday. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
I would just echo Kelly's words. I told Carole and Kelly, my cheeks actually hurt from smiling so big, because I truly feel like I'm with my family and friends this is literally the first time I'm gathering with people for the holidays, because when you work remote, you don't have your people in your office. You can go down the hall and say, hey, let's go out for a cocktail or a cocoa. And, my husband and I are in Florida, which isn't allowing us to be right next to our family during this season. We will be back in a few weeks, but, and I'm just smiling so big because I can feel the warmth and the connection in this community with all of you. And it just makes me really proud to be a part of it. And the relationships that have been built over the years. So Kelly and Carole just went at it for like the whole time, talking. And I just was sitting there smiling and laughing because I'm like, they know each other so well and they're a part of each other's lives. And it makes me think about people like myself and Savannah, who are somewhat newer to the network, and we may have not felt that immediate connection when we started in our roles. But my hope is that Savannah knows, as a newer participant member of Next, that we're wrapping our arms around her today and saying you're part of it all, right? So anyone else that wants to share?
Yeah, it was really cool because I was with Paula and Dick, and they have just like so much knowledge. I mean, I literally don't know any of you. Like, it's all strangers, but I mean, Dick has written like 4 books and knows everything about United Way. So I'm gonna probably just stalk his LinkedIn, and I got his email address so I can connect with him and gather some more of that information. Just because having that, those deep roots, I think will be really helpful to helping me establish really good roots here in our community. Even though we'll be celebrating 60 years next year, but we've had such turnover in my role that and it's lost, and so I want to be able to help our community understand the importance of United Way. And I think that understanding the role in the whole, internationally through Dick's work will be really, really inspirational. So that was a cool connection. I do have to jump as well, though. I have a meeting at 1. So anyway, but it was so great to see everyone.
Thanks, Savannah.
Thank
Nice to
you.
meet you.
That's great. Anyone else want to share from their time, their little breakout room?
Yeah, I was with Janet Jackson and Christina, and poor Christina didn't get a word in.
I
So
bet
sorry,
she didn't.
sorry about that. And Janet did most of the talking, which of course is always incredibly interesting. But so I'm sorry she's not on. What I wanted to share was she shared with us that she's made a new rule now that she's off. She was on a board that took a lot of time for the city. It was a volunteer, but it was really more like I think a paid position. It should have been. And so she says now she will not do anything before 10 in the morning.
I'm
Good.
with her.